Disney originals. Sometimes they're pretty original, other times less so. For every Halloween Town, you get 2 Teen Beach 2s. For every Phineas and Ferb the movie, you get 2 Can of Worms. But regardless of the extreme variation in quality and enjoyment, we all have that one Disney original film we keep coming back to. And today's film is not one of those films for me. See, for me, I always come back to something like Good Luck Charlie, It's Christmas, and Let It Shine. No, today's film is a Halloween sci-fi teenage hating my life fest known as Girl vs. Monster. It released in 2012 and also stars Brendan Meyer. Yep, the same guy from Color Out of Space. I will be 100% honest, I completely forgot he was even in this film until I rewatched it for this video. I'm not entirely sure if I can or should call this movie good, but it's definitely bizarre and very, 2012. Okay, let's do our usual shtick. Let's do a plot summary, then talk a little bit about the plot as well as the VFX, for a great number of reasons, and then round things off with the final review. Our main protagonist in Girl vs. Monster is named Skylar, played by Olivia Holt. She is unknowingly a 5th generation monster hunter. Her parents, Steve and... Her mother is not named a single time in the entire movie. I am not joking. They never give her mother a name. Skylar's parents are 4th generation monster hunters who are hiding the truth from her daughter until she turns 16. They're also like mold scientists to like pay the bills, and of course are extremely overprotective over their daughter. Skylar has been fearless her entire life, not once ever feeling the sensation of fear or being afraid to do anything. She literally has no concept of fear. But she does have her 2 very anxiety-ridden friends, Sadie and Henry, to constantly remind her about the concept of fear even existing in the first place. Oh, and this is Cobb, by the way. Yes, you did not mishear me. Cobb, as in the cob of a corn. He is the actual MVP of this film, serving as both the comic relief and mentor figure, and a steampunk arms dealer, but we'll get to that in a minute, I promise. As Halloween approaches, monsters are beginning to form out in the wilderness, although far earlier and way sooner than they normally do according to Skylar's parents. And while they're monster hunting and protecting the world, Skylar is helping her friend and love interest Ryan set up a Halloween party. Also, quick side rant about Ryan, he's played by Luke Benward, who is in another Disney original film that I'm going to make a video on. Her and Sadie cut through the graveyard, and Skylar teases Sadie for having the survival instinct known as fear. Turns out they actually were being chased, and moments later, Skylar's parents show up and catch the monster. All the monsters are held in this big containment tank at the parents' laboratory, and, seems a little dumb to put hundreds of monsters all in one secure unit. I think you can call it insecure for how foolish this method of containment really is. I mean, come on, you're monster hunters. Surely you have like an SCP Foundation employee handbook laying around somewhere. Halloween comes around, Skylar is locked in the house with Cobb to prevent her from going out, and the only way to disable the security system is cutting the power to the house. I think we all know where this is going. Skylar cuts the power, the containment chamber in turn loses power, and all the monsters get loose. Okay, what the actual... Who is stupid enough to hook up a monster containment unit to the commercial power grid of a house? Clearly something that important should be on its own separate, secure power source with like over 100 backup power sources. I'm sorry, this part always bothered me, even as a kid. Moving on, our main antagonists are this witch lady, the scarecrow guy, and Diamata, the Eternal One. And now it's time to speedrun some exposition. Monsters attach themselves to a host very early on in their lives, creating and amplifying the feeling known as fear. Diamata is an ancient monster who's been around since the beginning of time, and her previous host was Skylar's grandfather. Her next host was, you guessed it, Skylar herself. But her parents captured and sealed away Diamata in the most secure containment chamber ever made, and thus without her monster, Skylar has never known the feeling of fear for her whole life. Now with Diamata loose, Skylar is experiencing 15 years worth of unfelt fear all at once, which I'm pretty sure would be enough to induce cardiac arrest and kill you nigh instantly. I mean, just think about all that adrenaline. Okay, speed run over. Let's move on. After some taunting and screaming, the big red lady no-clips away to find and kidnap Skylar's parents. After much calming down and rational thought, Cobb decides to send the kids off to the Halloween party, because if the demon lady comes back to the house, they wouldn't be there. Just to be safe, Cobb arms these 3 teenagers with steampunk monster-catching weapons and traps to contain them. Along the way to the party, our group gets separated, and Henry has a face-off with his monster, the Scarecrow. He fails instantly and becomes petrified. Cobb, the absolute GOAT, runs all the way out into the woods to retrieve him with a wheelbarrow and escort Skylar and Sadie to the party, only to wheelbarrow Henry all the way back to the lab. What a legend. While all this is happening, Diamata goes on ahead and possesses Mira. Oh right, I haven't mentioned her because she's an extremely forgettable character. Speedrun time again. Mira is Ryan's constant on and off girlfriend and the lead singer in their band. She knows Ryan is far more interested in Skylar than he ever was with her, and thus, after Skylar did the fancy parkour and impressing Ryan, she attempts to do it herself and nearly ends up unaliving herself. Now Diamata is possessing her and heads over to the party. Meanwhile, at the party, everyone is expecting Skylar to do some singing because she said she would do it the day prior. All eyes are on her and she gets her first ever stage fright. After she fails miserably, Dimira, if you will, takes over and gives an absolutely wild performance. Skylar, humiliated, runs away. They also run into Josh. And let's be honest, everyone ever has had a Josh. Let's just be real. But Skylar and Sadie make him spin right round, baby, right round, and he turns into off-brand Dobby elf-faced PNG. One beautiful CGI fight later, and the girls have caught their first monster. In excitement, they call the goat Cobb and check on Henry. Turns out just a little bit of purple acid in the ears does wonders for petrification. Take notes, kids. While Henry is failing at welding, the girls tell Cobb that they need more traps for all the monsters. And Henry, feeling useless, volunteers to be the one to do the supply run. But after his little accident with the Scarecrow, he takes no chances. And he takes the big one with him. Honestly, can't really blame him. I mean, if it were me, I would have taken the big one to begin with, but that's just me. As Skylar and Sadie catch more monsters, Diamata notices that her host is once again building confidence. To disrupt this little error, she summons a bunch of monsters to the ballroom and ditches her human cosplay. Also, this is the second set of stairs that Mira falls down in this movie. Also, I'm pretty sure these are some of her last speaking lines until the very end of the movie. Meanwhile, in the woods, Henry reduces the Scarecrow to a pile of mush after soaking up some of Cobb's natural aura rays after being in his presence for long enough, and thus he becomes the secondary MVP of this movie. See what I mean at the end. As all hell is breaking loose at the party, Diamata appears to Skylar to taunt her about her singing, and deliver us this beauty of a line.
Don't think that won't haunt you for the rest of your life.
Most of the dialogue in this quirky little movie is pretty, silly, and the deliveries are silly in kind sometimes, but that was probably the best line delivery in the whole movie. But it's a little hard to take it seriously when Diamata's laugh sounds like this. Henry shows up amidst all the chaos and passes on his words of wisdom that he learned when facing down the Scarecrow. Just do whatever it is that scares you. So Skylar, in that moment of brilliance, instructs Ryan to grab his guitar and follow her outside. But just as he's gearing up to go, the Red Lady possesses him.
I think we all know where this is going.
Yep, that's right. It leads to Skylar telling Ryan to do whatever he fears most. He asks her out, she says yes, cue the musical number. Okay, final showdown time. Diamata is still holding all the cards, aka Skylar's parents, over a rooftop. As Skylar, Sadie, and Henry all try to weaken her, she only gets stronger, feeding on both Skylar's fears and her parents' fear. And thus she reaches her final form. Whatever the hell this is supposed to be. With some acrobatics, coordinated attacks, and Henry, was that a big shot just now? And that, my friends, is why Henry is the secondary MVP to Cobb. Without Cobb, Henry could have never made his big shot, and without Henry, Skylar and her parents would probably be dead or possessed. Red Sludge Lady captured, family reunited, lovers brought together, one last musical dance number. The end. That, my friends, was the plot of Girl vs. Monster summarized to the best of my ability. Now, let us go ahead and talk about said plot. First of all, you can tell it's a 2012 story when the entire conflict is spawned from something as stupid as that frickin' dumb chamber hooked up to a commercial power grid. But the general message of the plot is pretty clear. A life with overwhelming, unending fear isn't really a life at all, and a life lived alongside fear in healthy doses is just called life. It's just life as we know it. Of course, the message is don't let fear control you, which is a good message, no doubt. However, as I've said, the plot has some issues. First of all, why bother naming Skylar's father if you're not even gonna name her mother? Secondly, as soon as Henry leaves the lab, Cobb is entirely removed from the story. We don't even see my boy until the ending sequence, where he is once again reduced to a comic relief character. I know that is partially his role, but can we be honest for a second? The dude straight up carried our main cast as the lead mentor figure, mentoring Skylar about monster hunting, a role her parents were supposed to fill, and now he was the only one available and qualified to do it. That is a ton of pressure, and considering how much of a bang-up job he did, I feel like it would have been fitting if he got some kind of like award ceremony. The dude proved himself. He stepped up as best he could, and he deserves to at least not be considered just a trainee anymore. Third, yes, I know the weapons and methods of catching the monsters is basically just how they did it in Ghostbusters. Actually, it's damn near identical. Shoot beam, destabilize monster, open big suck trap, trap them. But I will say, all the props and steampunk design of all the weapons and monster catching tech are pretty cool looking, but I'm a big sucker for steampunk anything, so take that with a grain of salt. Also, if it weren't for Diamata possessing Mira in order to humiliate Skylar, our protagonist, I would have called Mira an entirely pointless character. Her only role in the film is to be possessed, so the possessor can humiliate the protagonist. Before that, and after that, she is a background character. I'd also like to mention that as soon as Henry shouts, "Just do what you're scared of," almost every character gets like 95% over their fear. It is toward the end of the movie, so I'm willing to let it pass, but just barely. Other than that, the plot and characters are all like very standard for your average Disney original film. What is below average though is the VFX. That's visual effects, by the way, in case you somehow don't know what that means. Now, before we begin, I want to say that I understand it was over a decade ago and technology for VFX has improved significantly since then. I also do not know the budget of the film, and I do not want to take away from the artists who did the special effects. I'm sure they all did the best they could with what they were given. But let's just be honest, every monster is just a ghost with a floating face PNG on it. The gargoyle at the very start of the film looked perfectly fine, and I thought that's what the monsters would be like upon my first time seeing this movie. But then they just turned into those. There was this dog that did this, which was so ridiculous, I audibly laughed out loud upon my rewatch of this movie for just how goofy it looks. The weapon effects looked fine since they were in contrast with the CGI monsters, but the monsters, in contrast with the real-world backgrounds and environments, just so clearly do not fit there. The physical sets, however, were quite good, I think. The lab in Skylar's house was pretty dope. The big mansion when the graveyard where the party was also looked pretty decent and added to the Halloween vibes a lot. And like I said prior, the props were pretty decent looking. You must be asking yourself by this point, Void, it sounds like you don't like this movie all that much. So why are you making a video on it? Well, it's actually kind of the opposite. I remember watching this movie premiere on the Disney Channel, and the kind of janky charm it has kind of captivated me. So it has a very particular type of nostalgia with me. And like I said at the beginning of the video, this isn't a Disney movie I find myself coming back to very often, but once on a rare spooky month, maybe once every 2 to 3 years, I'll find myself, hey, I should watch that funny Girl vs. Monster movie. But with that clarification handled, let us now do the final review. Girl vs. Monster is a 2012 Disney original film starring Olivia Holt. As a teenage comedy light horror movie, it succeeds in being average and slightly charming in those regards. The plot follows young Skylar, a girl without fear, learning to live and cope with fear as it suddenly hits her all at once, leading to a relatively consistent story and messages about how to not let your sense of fear overwhelm and control you. While the plot is relatively consistent in its messaging, the actual story and lore has 1 or 2 inconsistencies that are typical of a lot of Disney originals, such as the conflict arising from something very illogical. The most standout performances come from Olivia Holt as Skylar, Tracy Dawson as Diamata, and Adam Chambers as Cobb. In this reviewer's opinion, Luke Benward gave one of the weaker performances, but that is more so due to how his character and role was handled in the script. His character, Ryan, was written as a character who says 1 or 2 lines, then has to wait his turn while the other characters around him take up most of the dialogue. In the VFX and CGI department, this film is definitely at its weakest. Though the film is called Girl vs. Monster, the CGI of the monsters make them appear mostly like ghosts, leading to a sense that this film was heavily inspired by Ghostbusters. The monsters themselves contrast very poorly to the real-world environments and end up looking very out of place. However, if you can overlook the poor CGI and effects and let the usual stereotypes of a Disney film slide, Girl vs. Monster does have some charm, such as its musical numbers and a decent amount of the comedy aspect. As such, I will give Girl vs. Monster an objective rating of 2.5 out of 5 and a biased rating of 3 out of 5. I do recommend this film if you enjoy goofy, short, and digestible experiences for some quick laughs and entertainment during the spooky season. Thank you so much for watching. Talking about Disney original films from the early 2000s and like early to mid 2010s is always such a good time, be it in a video or just with friends. And I also get the excuse to do a little bit of nostalgia tripping while I'm at it. Also, be sure to let me know in the comments, what is your favorite goofy, janky, but also like somehow charming Halloween movie? I got another Disney original film that I plan to make a review on before the end of the year, and quite frankly, I think it's gonna just be on Sunday. And it is legit one of my single favorite Disney originals. As I mentioned earlier, it stars Luke Benward when he was like 4 or 5 years younger. So if you know what Disney original I'm referring to, post your guesses in the comments down below. And of course, if you did enjoy this video and have been enjoying the slew of reviews that I've been putting out, definitely be sure to hit the like and sub button. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you really like the way we do things around here and you want to show me a little bit of extra support, then definitely consider becoming a channel member. Not only do you get access to a whole bunch of exclusive rewards, but you also directly support me in the process and help keep this channel running. But that is going to do it for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, have a good day, everyone.